All right, here we go, finishing up the notes for Chapter 2. This video starts with Section 8 of your notes. New program selection. Selection and development of new programs can be more difficult than current program evaluation because there's a lot of unknowns that come with new programs. At least with current programming, you have a little bit of a history in terms of the program content, in terms of the audience feedback, in terms of advertiser feeling and sentiment. With new programs, you don't have a lot of that, at least in a tried and tested sort of way. This is why, in part, you start to see more of the franchise programming. We've alluded to this in previous parts of the notes here, where you have a show that has several different incarnations, just some minor plot twists with the particular shows on the screen. CSI and NCIS, you'll see them operating in different cities. With Law and Order, there'll be special units of the New York Police Department that are being featured in those shows. Some of the advantages of franchise programming: it generates programming for foreign syndication. As the show becomes popular, a brand becomes popular, it becomes popular around the world. It reduces decision making for new series ideas because you have a formula that works. Just put a minor twist on it and you've got another hit show. Also, it creates a signature program with which a network can identify itself. When CSI was popular, CBS was known as the CSI Network. NBC became synonymous with Law and Order. And it creates that branding and awareness that companies love to have people make an association with, because if they know your name, they know who you are, they know where to go, and that's where many of them wind up going. Cable seems to take more risk on original ideas for programming. You'll see a lot of different types of concepts that air on cable television that the broadcast networks aren't necessarily as quick to jump on. What you do see, though, is that when broadcast networks see something that works on cable, they will do what's called repurposing. They'll take a show originally for cable and then air it on broadcast television. Although cable does the same thing with popular broadcast shows. Program concepts and scripts, the way that this works is that when a new show is being developed, at least when they want to develop a show, what will be formed is called a step deal. This will allow for development funds for the show's producer, set compensation rates, gives the network creative control. It also provides for the approval of scripts or treatments. So this is basically the agreement to allow for the working of a new show to come about with the intention of creating a pilot, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. A network doing poorly in ratings is usually going to be more willing to take chances on new ideas. If they're continually hitting low in the ratings numbers, they're going to be more willing to try different things in order to get those rating numbers up, because what they've been doing is not working. They need something that works, so you might as well try something brand new. Now, a pilot is a sample or a prototype production of a series under consideration. So this is a fully produced programming element that is meant to go on the air, and the purpose of the networks to put it on the air is to see what kind of feedback it gets from the audience and from advertisers. Pilots tend to cost more to produce because of startup costs. You're doing everything brand new. You've got to hire the talent. You've got to hire the production crew. You've got to build sets, and all of that takes money. You can't, by and large, just borrow something from somewhere else under the same contract, because it just doesn't work that way. Everything is brand new, and it takes money to get all that set up. Many pilots are formed as made-for-TV movies that can be sold internationally as part of a movie package if a pilot is not picked up by a network. This is one of the ways that production houses kind of hedge their bets a little bit, in that they can make the show available worldwide as a movie, and it's picked up in various markets in other countries. Factors in deciding to air a series based on its pilot can be found in the textbook, and more detail on the program development process is in your textbook as well. You can feel free to take a look at those if you'd like to kind of follow that flow of thought in greater detail. Schedule churn is the continual shifting of primetime schedules. This can be intentional to either try to improve or drop a show's ratings. Sometimes networks want to intentionally lower the ratings for a show. Maybe they're trying to get rid of the show for one reason or another. One great way to know that a network is getting ready to get rid of a show is if it winds up getting dumped onto Friday night. Nobody watches TV on Friday night. It could also be reactionary. They could see a sudden change in ratings. There could be some controversy that's going on about the show with one of the actors, or a storyline that went out, or something happened that there's a bad taste in the mouth of the public concerning a particular program. And so they may start moving things around to try to save face, put a show in a lesser known time slot, or replace it with something altogether in hopes of being able to mitigate certain things that are going on. Or they might have a surprise hit on their hands and they want to move that show into a time slot that would be better advantageous for the network. To be more advantageous, I guess I should say, for the network. The promotions aspect of programming, its role here. Promotional announcements play a pivotal role in the rating success of a program. Talking something up, letting people know that it's out there, creating awareness. Websites help to build loyalty to a program. The website will generally have lots of good information about the show, storylines, details on certain episodes, bios on the characters and the actors that play those characters. Magazines also help with promotion, especially the tabloid type of stuff that you see at the checkout counter of the grocery store. People Magazine, Us Weekly, all those sorts of publications. Cross promotion, also a huge deal. Having the actors of shows appear on the morning news programs. Various cable outlets also offering different promotional opportunities. And cooperation with restaurants and retail. A lot of times a TV show will partner with a business to promote its programming, to offer different deals and incentives at various businesses, and try to create buzz in that way in participating with the marketplace. Changing format emphases. Comedies, dramas, movies, and more recently reality shows have been traditional winners in primetime television. They're concepts that work well. Also, you have specials, and these can be any sort of one-time program, whether it's a sports broadcast, some sort of concert or other type of entertainment, comedy shows. News specials, if you've got a special episode of 60 Minutes or Dateline NBC or something like that. One-on-one interviews. Usually a huge ratings winner is whenever Oprah announces that she's going to have a special on TV. Now, why sitcoms and dramas? Why are they so popular? Well, they've attracted sizable audiences, especially in young female demographics. And a lot of sales consulting services will tell you that many times it is the female in the family that makes a lot of the buying decisions. So advertisers like to appeal to the women. Also, sitcoms and dramas syndicate well off network, which means more money for the production companies. Unscripted and reality shows have found favor due to their low cost to produce. You generally only have one or two hosts, and then everyone else is a contestant. 75% of situation comedies generally fall into two main types. There's the family-based comedy, where you're looking into the life of a family as a whole. And there's the occupation-based comedy, where the main characters all work in the same type of business or work at the same company. And it's easy to build stories around the central premise of the family or of the workplace. Dramas. Crime dramas have evolved from a lot of private investigator type shows in the 60s and 70s, moving on to gritty police dramas like NYPD Blue, going into more science types of shows like CSI. Also, courtroom dramas, very popular in the 1990s. And nowadays, you're seeing a lot more comic book dramas, especially on the CW. They've really taken up the mantra of bringing your favorite comic book heroes to life. Specials, most are entertainment types of content for young adults. Concerts, comedy shows, magic shows, that sort of thing. Sports specials generally air on the weekends, but you might also find special championship series programming that would interrupt regular programming, especially with different bowl games. The World Series that happens generally in October. At least we hope sports will happen this year. Dramatic and news-related specials also happen on a pretty regular basis. Again, we mentioned shows like 60 Minutes and Dateline NBC doing special one-off shows that relate to a specific news story or offer in-depth interviews with certain newsmakers. Award shows also very popular, whether it's music awards, television, movie awards, that sort of thing. And extended episodes of existing shows also fall into the specials category. If you've got a special hour-long episode of a comedy or a 2-hour-long episode of your favorite drama, that would fall into this as well. Unscripted programming involves any of these types of shows: reality programs, news magazines, game shows, anything where, well, there's no script. Reality shows can cost as much as 1/10 of the amount of scripted shows to produce, again, largely because you're not paying the salaries of a whole lot of actors. Many reality show concepts today are borrowed from Japan and Europe. A huge example of this would be Wipeout on ABC. That started off as a Japanese game show. Reality shows find that they need to push the limits on shock value. It's very, very common to find some sort of way to put something unique, unusual, appalling on reality shows, whether it's the content that they're covering or it's a rather eccentric personality that is featured on the show. News magazines offer prestige for a network and fair ratings, but they have little reuse and resale value because you're dealing with current events by and large, and generally people aren't looking to watch news stories from several months or several years ago. Game shows, many of them have merged with reality shows. A lot of times with reality, we are thinking more about those game show types of things like Amazing Race and Survivor and Big Brother. Movies, theatrical films. Well, yes, that's still a thing. It wasn't as popular until this past summer when CBS brought back in the Sunday night movie. And we're seeing other networks showing occasional 2-hour and 3-hour movies on their networks as well. The pandemic, I think, has created that opportunity for a lot of networks to look at to bringing movies back. Perhaps there's just not enough television inventory. Made for TV movies, made with commercials in mind. So you get the same sort of thing as a theatrical movie in terms of filling time and filling content, but it's already, you don't have to do a lot of editing and breaking into a middle of a scene. It's already planned out for you to be able to have commercials there. Miniseries are multi-part films that air in installments. So you might have a television event that runs over the course of an entire week, every day for a week, or perhaps for a series of 3 or 4 weeks on a particular day. The advantages of movies for broadcasters: they fill large amounts of time that gain respectable ratings. People like tuning in to watch a movie. They can air topical or controversial material that might not work on a regular television series. It's a one-off sort of thing. They showcase actors and actresses that might not otherwise be seen on TV, which is a draw. They reward stars from their popular series by giving them a movie. Now, the disadvantage for movies is that it's a high cost to networks, whether they are creating the movie themselves or they are purchasing the rights to the movie from the production company. The advantages of the made-for-TV movie as a pilot: well, they can be profitable in terms of promoting the special movie event and getting advertisers to buy in on it. Made-for-TV movies can target desired demographics based on the content, based on the actors that are in them. Audiences and affiliates like them, and they have international syndication potential as theatrical movies. Miniseries are popular and can fill holes in the schedule, but they can also be costly. So the risk there is that, you're investing a good bit of money into putting this content on the air, but it does fill a good gap in the broadcast day and allows a little bit of relief for some of the regular content that a network may air. Network decision-making. Traditionally, ratings have been considered the most influential primetime programming variable, and this results in these several factors: the canceling of programs, favored by millions of viewers. If the show is not bringing in the ratings or it's not bringing in the advertising revenue, a show might get cut and make a lot of people upset. Countering strong shows by scheduling competing strong shows, all in the fight for ratings of a particular demographic especially. Preempting popular series to air specials. This has caused consternation at times. If someone tunes in and expects to see their favorite show, it's at their time. They made that appointment to view that show, and it's not there. And airing reruns late in the season. This obviously helping to fill in time slots and make the most of the investment they made in that show. The risks and the rewards ahead. A show's failure is easier to analyze than the show's success. To sometimes ask the question why a show does so well can be difficult to answer. A lot of people had a hard time understanding why Seinfeld did so well in the 90s when Jerry himself admitted it's a show about nothing, and people loved it. Successful shows sell at a premium, and networks are willing to pay for them. It's the investment that they're willing to make. And high failure rates of programming have created insatiable demand for replacement series. To get on the air, first and foremost, is such a long road with the process of doing the step deal and getting the pilot and even getting the networks to talk to you to do those things. And then once it's on the air, trying to build up that audience, promoting a show, letting people know that it's there, but it's just not what the audience wants. Or it's not something that advertisers are willing to associate themselves with. They don't feel it's worth the money, or they don't like the content, or for whatever reason. So a lot of shows do fail. And because of that, the next show needs to be right around the corner. So as much as there is all this internal looking in for program content, there's still the possibility of going out, looking around and about you to try to find the next big thing. All right, there we go. That is Chapter 2 in its entirety. So hopefully you've been filling in your notes, and now you should be ready to take a look at your study questions. Make sure that you submit the notes and the study questions to me before the due date. And also make sure you take a look at the survey on Blackboard before we get together to talk about this chapter. We'll see you at our next meeting.